That Felix Tshisekedi of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Paul Kagame from Rwanda is raising little hope among the population, mainly people here living in the IDP camp across the province of North Kivu here. The DRC for right now is hosting almost 7 million of people, and 4 million of them are around this town of Goma here. This is why, questioning them here, people are saying they have seen such kind of meeting many times between DRC officials without any result, and fighting still going on the ground. Even right now as we are talking here, the army is facing the M23 rebels on the ground for more than 12 days without stop. And it has even pushed more people. Those who have tried even to go back in their village, they were pushed out again during the week. This is why people in the camp here are saying that the only things for them is to go back home. But they are really questioning how this will be possible, while the DRC officials still not showing the will to discuss with the M23 rebels.
The real solution in all of this is to ask President Kagame of Rwanda to remove his soldiers from DRC in order to stop our suffering. But we know it's still impossible. Even with these talks, we are hopeless and tired of all of this.
They need to be honest and talk seriously on the ongoing issues in the region, because since 3 years now that we are here suffering.
We have discussed with the M23 rebels officials this morning again, and they were very clear that the ongoing process in Angola, which they are saluting, is not concerning their movement, because the only possibility for them to discuss with the DRC officials is in a direct dialogue under the Eastern Africa Community members. But this possibility was also rejected by the DRC officials. This is why the hope of many people here, and even in the province of North Kivu here, to expect a lot from this ongoing process. Even this meeting between Paul Kagame and Felix Tshisekedi is very little in terms of result. Allen Waikani, Al Jazeera, Goma, the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Chad's government says it has ended a defense cooperation deal with France, a move that could result in French troops leaving the Central African country. France currently has around 1,000 troops stationed in Chad, as well as warplanes. In a statement, Chad's foreign ministry said the country wants to fully assert its sovereignty after more than 6 decades of independence. A sentiment echoed on the streets of N'Djamena on Friday. I think the Chadian government is right to demand the departure of French troops, says student Jada Grass, adding, "The government is right. We need to start developing now and be truly independent." Chad has been a key Western ally in the fight against Islamic militants in the region, but it has moved closer to Russia in recent years. It said ending the deal would allow it to redefine its strategic partnerships. The decision is another nail in the coffin of France's historic and colonial role in West and Central Africa, after being forced to pull its troops out of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso following military coups. France said on Friday it took note of the decision by Chad and would work with the country to implement it, the foreign ministry said. The statement said Paris had already been working on reconfiguring its African military presence for 2 years.
During the Soviet era, Africa-Russia relations were limited to a few sub-Saharan and Maghreb nations, including Angola, Ethiopia, Egypt, and Algeria. Today, the tide has changed. Russian flags are popping up during protests in West African countries, with supporters viewing Russia as a savior. This growing influence has reshaped geopolitics across the continent. Russia's President Vladimir Putin is the mastermind behind this rekindled relationship. Initially, Putin showed minimal interest in Africa, choosing to visit a few countries in North and South Africa during his 25-year stint in power. A notable shift came in 2018 during the BRICS summit in Johannesburg. Putin proposed the idea of a Russia-Africa summit, marking a strategic pivot towards increased engagement with the continent. Russia soon became Africa's leading arms supplier. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SIPRI, Russia supplies 35% of arms to African nations, ahead of China and the US. The growing presence and activities of the Wagner Group, a Russian private military contractor with deep ties to the Kremlin, have partly facilitated this. Russia's diplomatic efforts in Africa have also intensified. Moscow has long used memory diplomacy in Africa, leveraging positive memories of Soviet support for various African wars of independence against Western colonialists. Despite these efforts, Russia's economic engagement remains limited compared to China, with annual trade figures of $17 billion versus China's $200 billion. Not everyone is cheering Putin's growing influence in Africa. Some sub-Saharan African nations with ties to Western countries are concerned. In northern Nigeria, for example, authorities condemned some protesters for waving Russian flags during demonstrations over economic hardship. Nigeria's military has warned that waving foreign flags could be treated as treason.
Wrecked. Top-level talks between U.S. and Russian officials in 3 years. U.S. President Donald Trump told reporters he thinks the end of the war in Ukraine is in sight.
Horrible thing. Both Russia and Ukraine, they're losing thousands and thousands of soldiers, and a lot of people have been killed too. I think that's one of the things that you'll see historically, and you'll see later on as it goes along. I think people are going to be surprised at how many people, not only soldiers, have been killed in Ukraine.
Trump campaigned on ending the war, which he blamed on President Volodymyr Zelensky, even though it was Russian troops that invaded Ukraine on February 24, 2022. But Zelensky and European leaders weren't included in the U.S.-Russia meeting in Saudi Arabia, something that angered them.
I am sure that for Ukraine, for Europe, for our region, it is fundamental that any negotiations on ending the war do not take place behind the backs of the key actors affected by the consequences of Russian aggression.
Even so, the U.S. is pushing ahead, saying Russia and Ukraine will have to be flexible if they want peace.
In order to bring an end to any conflict, there has to be concessions made by all sides. We're not going to predetermine what those are.
The UK and other European countries have said they're willing to send their troops to Ukraine as peacekeepers, something Trump welcomed.
Well, if we have a peace deal, I think having troops over there from the standpoint of Europe, we won't have to put any over there because, we're very far away. But having troops over there would be fine.
Russia has long objected to what it calls the creep of NATO toward its western border, and it's already calling the NATO peacekeeper idea a non-starter.
We explained today that the appearance of armed forces from the same NATO countries, but under a false flag, under the flag of the European Union, or under national flags, does not change anything in this regard. Of course, this is unacceptable to us.
What made Tuesday's meeting noteworthy is the two nations had all but broken ties because of Ukraine. Now Russia and the U.S. are rebuilding those ties because both countries say they share concerns that go beyond the war.
Psalms 83:1 from the top. Keep not thy silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. Kohalo Yahweh, Bashima Mashiach Yahweh Shai, Ruha Ruka Kodash. Double honors to the mighty men, the elders, and the apostles in the community, waking up the lost sheep, the house of Israel in these last days. Peace and blessings to everyone doing this truth, and humbleness, sincerity. Again, I'm going to say shalom. It's your brother Yahweh coming at you for another video. And I'm just going into a short breakdown, current events. You had some events in 2024 where you had the militia groups in the Valley of Ham, which we call Africa today. I resurfaced some of those posts and their connection with BRICS. All that's been resurfaced, as you can see in the videos. America has entered into World War III. It's still proxy, okay? Revelation 17 did not play out. The fulfillment of Revelation 17, it didn't happen. Slovakia, we're praying on it. Okay, you have somewhat of a shutdown of the Ukrainian conflict, but don't believe the hype. Okay, you have a lot of this news going viral that America is no longer aiding Volodymyr Zelensky, but you know, when they say, you know, roughly paraphrasing, peace and safety, sudden destruction, it's going to come. Especially here for Babylon the Great America, because this is the one place that hadn't been judged. And America continues to approach that 250 mark. The judgment's only getting worse. And we're seeing the news, food prices, gas prices, the inflationary measures, unemployment. Okay, it's just plagues drowning this place, man. All we have is this truth, especially us in the knowledge of this truth. This is all we have. I've been in this thing 12 years. I have no reason to go back. And if you go back, I mean, what are you going back to? Okay, to me, if you go back, you're food for that nuclear fire. Okay, so we're going to get some scripture, okay, and I'm going to wind this down. I didn't really have too much, but I want to resurface some events and the influence of BRICS, okay, Russia. All these nations, ultimately, they will turn on America. While we wait for those mega prophecies to pan out, right? Let's go back to Psalms 83, because a lot of us Negroes in America, okay, we have this thing. You even have these Pan-African brothers talking about go move to Africa and Mother Africa. No. Negroes in America are not Africans, okay? It's like saying a Korean person's Japanese. Yeah, they look alike. They have the same tributes. They're not the same people. Okay? When you study Genesis, the 6th chapter, there's a distinguishing from the children of Ham, Shem, and Japheth. That's a topic for another day. But we're going to go into these nations, and I'm going to wind this down. Okay? Most High will, I'll post it sometime during Saturday. I'll make it a premiere. I won't post it late like I normally do these videos. Okay? I will post a preview of a video I post on Rumble. It's a Rumble exclusive. Yeah, it's called America Declares War Against Iran and its Allies. Revelation 17 Build Up to Judgment. I'll post that preview. Actually, I'll just post that on here. Okay. And follow me on rumble.com. Okay. That's Israel 144X at rumble.com. So let's get Psalms 83. I'll wind this down. Psalms 83 and verse 6. Slovakia. Psalms 83, verse 6, from the top. The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab and the Hagarenes. I believe the Hagarenes is going into these Hamitic nations. Okay, for you newcomers, there's up to at least 54 continents in what we call Africa today. The Shemites dwelled in more so Eden. Okay, that's East Africa, right? The Shemites and the Hamites are two different nations of people. Again, for you newcomers, read Genesis the 10th chapter. Your table of nations are there. Let's read on. Okay, next verse reads, Gabal and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Okay, Tyre is another Hamitic nation. Okay, those are the dark races when you go back to Genesis the 6th chapter. Ham is the father of the dark races. Okay, when you go into the Zondervan's Bible dictionary, there's a distinguishing according to the scholars, chiefly according to the Most High, when you study Exodus, I believe it's 11 and 7, and it's Exodus chapters 4, verses 5, 6, and 7. Okay, there's a difference between us and them. This is not a Negro-only platform. This is for the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. And salvation is for the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. You read Revelation 7. Israel going to be coming out of all nations, kindreds, and tongues. Okay, Israel that dwelled among the heathen. Okay, let's read on. Psalms 83 verse... Actually... Slack, I need to go to Joel. I'm done with Psalms. Let's get the book of Joel. Call out some more Hamite nations. So we have a lot of Israelites that dwell in the midst of Ham. Okay, Yahusab Israel has been to Africa, so-called, the Valley of Ham. And we're merged in with them heathens there. But when the Ezekiel 20 account manifests itself, the Lord's going to separate us from them. Okay, that's Ezekiel 20th chapter, right? Let's get Joel. I'm going to wind it down. The Israelites, in the knowledge of this truth, keep these commandments as we watch this kingdom crumble. It's nothing but chaos in Washington. All types of drama. It's just endless drama in D.C. And the lawmakers, from the beginning, they've never had so-called slaves of interest, right? We've never been in their interest. But their kingdom is coming apart in this war. Y'all see the hype in the news with America to take over Palestine and build all types of monuments on the land and push the people somewhere else. Once these things happen, you can forget it. But we anticipate something to happen in that region soon. Right? And don't sleep on the Taiwan, China conditions going on. One moment. I get this. The Israelites, just keep the commandments. That's the best thing we can do in this time that we're living right now. Just have to keep the commandments. Here we go. Joel. I won't verse. We're going to start at verse 3 from the top. Because when you go into the history, okay, there was an account, I believe in Luke, when Christ, I believe his parents, they fled into a portion of Africa to dwell in with the people. Okay, we've always had history dating from Egypt and other portions. Okay. How do you say it? We had our dispensation of time in Africa prior to cargo slavery, right? Let me read this. I'm going to end this video. Joel 3 and verse 1 from the top, and it reads, "For behold, in those days, in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, northern and southern kingdom." Verse 2, "I will also gather all nations and will bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat and will plead with them there and for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my lands." Okay, Deuteronomy 28:68. That's Zechariah 1:21. Jeremiah the 17th chapter. There's the numerous amount of precepts to back how the Most High scattered the children of Israel among the people. Okay, that's just another slashing on the spiritual Israels. He didn't scatter everybody among everybody. That's what vocab and them silly apologetics teach. It didn't happen. He's gonna bring Israel from among other people when you go back to Ezekiel the 20th chapter. But let me finish reading this. Slakia. Joel 3 and verse 3. This is what I want. "And they have cast lots for my people and have given a boy," from the top. "And they have cast lots for my people and have given a boy for an harlot and sold a girl for wine that they might drink." Okay. Verse 4. "Yeah, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon?" These are Hamitic nations. Okay. The Negroes in America, or the Israelites in America, and the Israelites scattered to the four corners of the earth. Again, we're not Hamites. Okay, you still got these white supremacists telling Israelite groups in debates we're Gentiles. Well, they would have to prove they fit the bill in Deuteronomy 28. They would have to fit those curses, which they don't. We do. And the powers that be, the elites, they know that. Okay, that's why you have this quietness, a media mute button on the Israelites, because they don't want this truth to come out. It's too late. You have World War III in proxy, so it's a matter of season before we're delivered. And again, America's reaching 250 very soon. You have, how do you say, mega billionaires buying bunkers. They're doing that because that time is close. It's very close, y'all. Don't sleep on the coming day of the Lord. The judgment day is coming, and yes, the 12 tribes of Israel elect will be delivered. Okay? Let's see if there's any more. Joel 3 and verse 4 from the top. "Yeah, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coast of Palestine? Will you render me recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head?" Okay, notice it said Palestine because Ishmael, when you go into the that sub-Sahara slave passage, they also had us in slavery. That's why you see the Lord judging that region. You have Israelites in the midst of the Palestinians, but we're not Palestinians, we're Israelites. You had a couple of groups visit that area and ran into dark-skinned Shemites in the midst of Palestine. Okay, I've been to the so-called Middle East. I've done a Holy Land tour. Yes, there are so-called Shemites that's in that land, right? Let me close out. Joel 3 and verse 5. It says, "Because you have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temple my goodly pleasant things. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem, southern and northern kingdom, have you sold into the Grecians, the so-called white man, that you might remove them far from their borders. Okay, and that's the nations working with these elites till this day. Okay, all these brothers jammed up in Kemet and Conscience, Negro only. That's stupid, man. Because none of that stuff has an end game. The end game is keeping the commandments of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's the only end game we have. Any other philosophy in these last days, you're going to get caught in that nuclear fire. Because while it all appears normal right now, it's going to crank up. Okay? Let's see if there's any more before I end this video. Let's read verse 7. And it reads, Joel 3 and verse 7. Behold, I will raise them out of the place where you have sold them. And that's an issue for our friends posted after World War II. Where's that history? This so-called Black History Month, I'm going to always bring that history out. You have some elders of the community bringing out the elites during the time of slavery said it was a disease for the slave running from the slaver. Okay, they said it was a disease for the captive, the slave captive to have that mindset. That lets you know how sick these so-called kings are today. Because now they make everybody a damn debt slave, including their own people. Right? Let's see if there's any more. From the top, Joel 3 and verse 7. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whether you have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. Okay? That's your Revelation 13 and 10. Okay? He that lead captivity shall go into captivity. And that's what's going to happen to all these nations, including these so-called Hamites, all the nations that held us captives. They're going to serve their place. Okay? They're going to be some servants. They're going to be slaves to the Israelites. Under Yahushua and the host of heaven, the prophets, the saints, and the elect 12 tribes of the children of Israel. Slakia, once the judgment pans out, Israel's going to be at the top. The 12 tribes of the children of Israel is going to be at the top. The other nations are going to be at the bottom. And racism, white supremacy is going to be extinct. And with that, give all praise, honor, and glory to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Yahweh, Ba'ashima Mashiach Yahushai. Double honor to the mighty men, the elders, and the apostles in the community, waking up the lost sheep of the house of Israel in these last days. Peace and blessings to everyone doing this truth and humbleness, sincerity. Israel, I love y'all. We got next. Shalom, family.